Back in overtime now, Tesla is trading higher in OT after reporting its Q2 results. Let's bring in Wedbush's Dan Ives, the star analyst who covers this name. What's your instant reaction to what you got?
Well, I think the big focus is really the reiteration of the 50% unit growth, because everyone knew April and May, a disaster for Tesla given the zero COVID shutdowns. Will they reiterate 50%? That's showing bullishness second half, 900,000 plus. And I would just call it less bad than feared, and that's why you're seeing the reaction.
Well, that seems to be the case in a lot of stocks that are reporting earnings. Gross margins, though, from 33% in Q1 to 26.2 after some stuff is figured out there. You're not concerned at all about a gross margin number that's declining?
Yeah, it's concerning if it continues. If you go into 3Q and 4Q and you see that trend line, then it becomes a concern. Because of 2Q, I'll say they got a little bit of a pass because of what you're seeing on the zero COVID situation in China, as well as some of the build-outs of Giga Berlin and some of the other areas, of course, Austin. And I think that's why investors are sort of looking through this. What's the second half telling us? But that's why this will be probably one of the more important conference calls from Musk in years.
And what if he's not on it? What does that say? Because there are suggestions from Phil that he doesn't know if he's going to be on it or not. What if he isn't?
Look, I think Musk not on it would be a negative, just given where we are in terms of the cycle, in terms of what we're seeing in China. Still a lot of skepticism in terms of what Tesla's seeing. So I think this is probably, if there was a call for him to be on, it's tonight, in terms of especially everything we're seeing on EVs. And also, do you believe the second half? Because it comes down to, that's going to be that's what the street's going to be focused on, bulls and bears.
How much visibility, though, could they possibly have into a second half where the cash burn on these new factories is going to continue? It's not like supply chains or inflation are going to go away overnight that are going to help material costs. And by the way, what the stock is doing right now is hardly a resounding, let's get the pom-poms out and start the cheers. I mean, okay, 2.5% move on a stock that's gotten hit pretty well.
It's an Everest-like climb from here to get to where we need to get to for second half. So they really need to prove that. And it's not just the demand story, it's production. Because if you look at China, that's the hearts and lungs of the Tesla story. So it comes down to the elephant in the room, the fear is, what happens if April and May, the shutdown, happens again?
Hold your thought for a second. Phil LeBeau has more for me, I'm told. Phil?
Scott, one of the things that's getting a lot of attention after hours is that Tesla reaping the benefits of selling some of its Bitcoin position. In fact, it sold 75% of its Bitcoin purchases. $936 million is what that brought the company. Those sales, that sale of Bitcoin for the company brought in $936 million. They have converted that into other currencies. So that is one reason why you're seeing some movement in the stock after hours, as Tesla realizing it had to reduce that position substantially. So selling 75% of its Bitcoin purchases, bringing in $936 million, which it then converted into holdings of other currencies. Scott?
Yeah, watching the move, and I know you can't see it in real time, Phil, in Bitcoin, too. Taking a pretty good tumble here, perhaps on this news. Phil, thank you. See you again soon. You have any comment on this Bitcoin sale?
I think it was a head scratcher from the beginning. Musk throwing in the towel. You start thinking about the overhangs on the Tesla story. This obviously was one in terms of potential what the write down would be. And I think just given everything else they're seeing in terms of the challenges, it's one less you could ultimately check the box. And clearly now second half, it's all about unit production and growth rather than Bitcoin, which has really been a sideshow that we've seen to the Tesla story.
Last one before I got to move on from the Tesla story. You got a $1,000 price target? So let me ask you this. You've talked a lot about the overhang from Twitter. You've used the word embarrassment, sideshow, all these negative comments about Musk's episode here with Twitter. What happens if there's an unfavorable ruling in the court where he can walk, but he's not going to pay $1 billion? What if he's going to pay $5 billion or $10 billion? And in order to come up with that money, he needs to sell more Tesla stock.
Yeah, and I think,
is there any risk there at all?
I think, of course, there's risk. And I think you've started to see now factor into Twitter stock that he's probably going to have to pay at a minimum $5 or $10 billion, or ultimately, he could ultimately buy the whole company in terms of what happens in Delaware. And that will continue to be an overhang in terms of Musk selling stock, as that's really been over the last few years, constant sort of, needle in terms of the bulls as you've seen that play out.
But I mean, maybe more acute today than it has been in the past. But before, you've sort of never known when he was going to sell. Now you're going to have to game it out again after he sold the last time and wonder, as an investor, is that going to happen again?
And that continues to be what I view as the almost non-fundamental overhang in the stock, because you look at numbers, but ultimately the fear on the street continues to be that Twitter fiasco soap opera that now, at least in round one, Twitter won resoundingly.